Something really wild has been happening in Latin American politics over the last 25 years or so. I mean, the whole landscape has just been completely reshaped at this dizzying speed. Old powers are fading away, and all these new faces are popping up seemingly out of thin air. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into the research to figure out what is the engine behind this massive change.
It all really starts with this one pretty shocking number, 103.
Yeah, you heard that right. In just 25 years, across only 6 countries, we're talking Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and Peru, 103 brand new political parties managed to get into parliament. That's not just a change, it's a political explosion. So the big question is, where in the world did they all come from?
All right, so let's start our investigation by looking at what happened, at the results of this political upheaval, and then we'll try to get to the bottom of the forces behind it all.
Okay, so the main culprit, the primary cause behind this explosion is a phenomenon that researchers have started calling cyberpolitics. Basically, it's how digital technology just completely rewrote the rules of the entire political game. So, what on earth is cyberpolitics? Well, think of it as the way the internet and all this new digital tech have totally transformed how politics gets done. Everything from how politicians communicate to how they organize their teams, and even how regular people get involved in activism. And this slide right here shows the new battleground so clearly. You know, on one side, you have the old school way. Power was centralized. It was in the hands of TV networks, major newspapers, and the big party headquarters. But now, you've got the new kids on the block. Their power is decentralized, and they talk directly to voters using social media, big data, and messaging apps. And wow, the connection is it's impossible to ignore. This chart shows 2 things happening over time. You see the steady climb of internet access across Latin America, and right alongside it, you see the number of new parties getting into power climbing too. The 2 lines are practically holding hands. The more people got online, the more new parties got into office. It's that simple. So, if the internet is the weapon, what's the battle plan? Well, it turns out researchers have spotted a very clear digital playbook that these new parties are using to build entire movements, literally from scratch. And this playbook has 4 really crucial steps. First, you've got to find a hyperleader. Now, this isn't just your average candidate. This is a super charismatic, media-savvy person who can grab attention like a celebrity. Step 2, you completely bypass the old gatekeepers. TV, newspapers, forget them, and you talk directly to voters online. Third, you use data to micro-target voters with specific messages. And finally, you use social media to get everybody fired up and mobilized into a real grassroots movement. The real magic of this playbook is that it cuts out the middleman. It's what you might call a strategy of disintermediation. Newcomers don't need the approval of a newspaper editor or some party boss anymore. Nope, they can just pick up their phone and speak directly to millions of people. To really get your head around that third step, micro-targeting, this quote from the world of marketing just nails it. Instead of seeing a customer in every individual, micro-marketers see an individual in every customer. Now just swap out customer for voter. It's about treating every single person like they're a unique audience of one. And campaigns do this by gathering an unbelievable amount of data. I mean, we're talking about knowing how you voted in the past, your marital status, what your hobbies are. They might even know if you're a dog person, plus your religious beliefs, what shows you watch. All of it is used to build the perfect, personalized political ad just for you. And this whole new style of communicating, it even has a name, pop politics. It's all about turning the politician into a celebrity. Forget boring policy discussions. This is about big spectacles, viral memes, and pure entertainment. The whole goal is to create an emotional connection, to make that leader feel like a star that you just have to root for. So, we have all these new parties, and they're using this brand new playbook. But what does that actually do to the political system as a whole? Does it lead to more parties and maybe more problems? Well, the single biggest consequence is something analysts call hyper-fragmentation. The old stable system, with just a few big parties, gets completely shattered into all these smaller competing pieces. And this heat map, this reveals something fascinating about when these new parties tend to show up. You're looking at the number of new parties formed each year in each country, and the presidential election years are marked in red. You don't have to be a data wizard to see the pattern here. The dark blue spots where the most new parties appear almost always land inside those red boxes. And this chart here just puts a hard number on what we're seeing in that heat map. It's showing us the average number of new parties that pop up in a regular non-election year versus a big election year. And here is the kicker. The difference is just huge. On average, you see 3 times more political parties born in an election year. 3 times. That tells you these aren't always just organic movements. They are often electoral machines, purpose-built to win an election right now. Now, this is happening across the region, but it's not a one-size-fits-all trend. The fragmentation is off the charts in places like Argentina and Peru, each seeing over 20 new parties. But it's been a bit less intense in Mexico and Brazil. Every country really has its own unique version of this new political reality.
And this brings us to the final and maybe the most critical part of this whole thing. Is this actually good or bad for democracy? Well, the research suggests it's a real double-edged sword. On the one hand, you have the good stuff. Cyberpolitics has definitely lowered the barrier to entry into politics. That means you get more people participating, new voices are heard, which sounds great. But on the other hand, there's the bad. All this change leads to a lot more volatility. You get these ephemeral parties. They exist for one election and then just vanish, which makes it way, way harder to form stable governments that can actually get things done. And some research connects this to an even bigger theory about technological revolutions. The economist Carlota Perez warns that when these big tech bubbles burst, the anger that follows can create the perfect social ferment for the rise of populists. We might just be living through the aftermath of the big internet mania bubble, and this political fragmentation could be one of its most important side effects. So this leaves us with this huge paradox, doesn't it? Has technology really made politics more democratic by giving more people a voice? Or has it just shattered our systems into a million pieces, making our democracies more chaotic and unstable than ever before? And that's really the question this research leaves us wrestling with. We can't go back. The technology is here, and it's here to stay. So the real challenge now is, how can our democracies embrace all the amazing potential of this new digital world without losing the stability we need to actually function?